Hi guys, and welcome to part number 2 of this awesome tutorial about PvZ and what is considered to be the standard build. Now, in the part number 1 we have covered the 8K attack with a slight variation that there was no +1 upgrade. In part number 2 what we'll look on is one of the most popular attacks ever created in Starcraft. I remember seeing this build for the first time shortly after Starcraft 2 has launched, and it still remains one of the strongest builds ever created by man. So let me introduce you to Let me introduce you to the players first, which is Tefl, spawning here as the Red Zerg, and Krr, whose nicknames I cannot pronounce at all because my tongue just doesn't do tricks like that. Anyway, we'll look at the Protoss side, and also after that we will take a look about, the point of view of the Zerg, because a lot of you will be trying to figure out, okay, so you have just shown us a very important attack, a very strong build, which is 7 gate plus 2 blink upgrade attack with Stalkers. Now, how do I freaking defend that with my own forces as a Zerg? And we will go into that part of the tutorial. It's all going to be covered. I already have my good friend, which is the notepad here, and we will also make notes during this show, so I can post them under the YouTube video, and you have a reference material, because a lot of you have been asking for that. Now, one of the things that I think is worth mentioning is that it is Monday, and on Monday on Jägerlisk TV we have a show called Thank God It's Monday, because we love to anger other people with being positive about the start of the week. And what are we going to do starting from last week, what are we going to continue to do, is to give out t-shirts. If you want a t-shirt of Jägerlisk TV, you can participate in Thank God It's Monday. It's sort of a gauntlet between 8 players, free for all, and it's not that someone wins from the players, he doesn't win because he's strong. No, the player who wins is the player who has impressed the audience the most. So in order to win a t-shirt, you just need to be a ballsy player that participates and also manages to impress all the current viewers. So that's one way of getting your t-shirt. Okay, so as you can see, we already have 4 gases. Now, if I were Zerg and I see 2 gases at the natural, I would be worried. Now, the slight issue that Tefl has this game is he didn't see the timing on these gases at all, and after that, Krr goes for a very weird placement of Twilight Council, but that also gets spotted by Tefl, so Tefl knows that a Blink Stalker army is coming right up. If it would have been a Dark Templar build, it would happen before an expansion, and it's not very popular right now, so he just cut out that part of the metagame. So Tefl right now, how does he react to that? He takes more gases, there's a Roach Warren already done, and he starts producing roaches, which is a pretty normal thing to do. But at the same time, the Protoss is preparing a huge attack with a lot of sentries, which will be followed by the Stalkers. Now, the reason why he warps sentries first is that he will need a lot of energy. Now, your instinct may tell you, oh my god, I need Stalkers to protect my dear little sentries, otherwise the sentries will be ripped apart piece by piece, and my god, I can't stand to watch that. So most players, what they do is warp in a couple of Stalkers alongside with that. But by doing that, they cause their sentries to have less energy for the very critical force fields that happen later on. Rightio, so we have another bunch of sentries, and be mindful that Protoss did not scout for the third. With this timing attack, you are pretty much set against, well, most of the things that get thrown at you. You're just hoping it is not Link Hydralisk, because then you're in a big trouble. That's a nice scout from Tefl, he knows what's happening, but unfortunately for now it is too late. In order to defend from this, you need to be extra early and on time with all the scouting that you do. So let's notice, here's an attack, and Krr has some Stalkers, a lot of sentries, most of them with full-on energy, and thanks to that he can just force field himself wherever he wants, and that's exactly what he does. So right now this attack isn't very powerful, but at the moment of the attack, just notice the +2 upgrade finishes, and let's note that. Doom doom doom. +2. Sorry. +2 upgrade. So it finishes at 10-minute mark. So that's 10. Let's say. Here's the notepad. Okay. So at 10:10 the +2 upgrade finishes, and this is where he can go all in with this attack because he already has the force that he has needed. And again, a beautiful wall of force fields. Let's slow this down. And now the problem that many Protosses face is that they lose all their sentries. And unfortunately, when you're playing Blink Stalker, it's very difficult to avoid that because you are blinking away with your Stalkers away from the sentries, and that's it. That leaves them to tank the damage at the front, which you know doesn't do too much good for their health. So Krr right now has lost all of his sentries, but then he has also used a lot of the sentry energy to deal the damage that he has actually needed. Let's take units killed. So Protoss right now has killed 53 units, and army supply is still in favor of the Zerg, but that doesn't matter because with Blink upgrade and +2 you can just do insane amounts of damage by microing your units properly. And the Stalkers get blinked behind the lines. That's all fancy. Some of them were not properly focused. Again, the trick with the overlords above the Protoss army, always great. And Krr right now needs to back away shortly, but notice that he does hold the line. Now you may wonder, okay, he is losing so much. Why the hell doesn't he back away right now? Isn't he afraid of losing units? Now, with StarCraft 2, the trick is that if you keep moving your army too much, what your army is not doing is shooting. So, if you want to execute your attacks properly, you need to have your army moving as few number of times as possible. Each time you take a step back or forward with your army, you're losing your very precious damage, and with +2 that damage is extra precious, and you want to fire off at as many Zerg units as possible. Now, setting the obvious box aside, if you manage to hold the line and watch very closely, very focused on your army, and see, okay, that Stalker is getting hit, and blink him away. That Stalker is getting hit, blink him away. And then see, oh my god, the Zerglings are coming from the back where I have my all my all red health Stalkers, and you blink all the army away. That's okay, you can do that. But what you shouldn't do is just move too much around with the Stalkers, and we see a lot of even good players do that, where they cannot decide, okay, should I stay or should I back away and regroup? All the time that you spend regrouping, your opponent does the same. So if you are doing a timing attack, it's best to use your advantage early on, because that's the point where you have the biggest advantage. The more time you give to the Zerg, the more they mine minerals. Did I just give you the finger? Apologies for... I just gave my viewers the finger. I need to think about that. Alone. But anyway, guys, let's hide this one. And now it's still weird. Anyway, let's count on the fingers that I won't be closing. So anyway, guys, I can't stop myself doing it. Chill. Now, if you don't back away with your army and keep your, hold your ground and keep attacking the Zerg units, they will also sustain losses. So the question is, do I have enough units to keep giving them losses, or should I really back away and regroup? Sometimes regrouping is fine and it's all good because you have already done a great damage, but if you haven't, then you need to be looking for these extra opportunities to snipe off a roach, to snipe off a worker, a queen, an overlord, anything that you can possibly get your hands on. Otherwise, you will just lose the precious firepower you have, and the upgrades will kind of get equaled. And as you can see in the game itself, we already have a Zerg who is finishing Carapace level 1, which will make him a better protected against our attacks. Unfortunately, at this point, the Zerg is pretty much screwed because he already has lost most of his roaches, and there's not too much that he can do at this specific moment. Now, there probably aren't too many larvae. There are 9 larvae and a couple of roaches and Zerglings coming. Not too much that the Zerg can do right now. So anyway, it all comes down, at this point, it all comes down to not losing your stalkers, maintaining the line, and all of that stuff. Now, you may ask me the question, okay, so what should I do? I'm the Zerg in this encounter. What should I do to defend against this? And the reason why this is a very strong strategy from early on in Starcraft 2 and is still a surviving strategy is that it's not so obvious to scout. I mean, if you see a Twilight Council, that's perfecto. You know what's coming your way. You can prepare, but the question always is, what do you want to prepare with? This attack is very good because it hits exactly before the 11-minute mark, and 11-minute mark is the place where the Zerg takes his tech. So you want to hit before that, so the Zerg is forced into making units he doesn't really want at this point in time. He would probably prefer to make more drones, or even take a hive tech and go straight to broodlords if he's very ballsy. Now, what you do is force his hand out, and if the hand is just pure roaches, you're going to win straight away if you micro correctly. You need to be aware that there is going to be a lot of roaches, and you may end up losing because your micro wasn't up to par with the Zerg. However, how to defend this? Defending this is just a question of going for the right units. Now, 2 combinations that people suggested for this is either you go Zergling and Hydralisk, or you go Roach Hydralisk as well. Why the Hydralisk? Because with Hydralisk, you have a unit that is not outranged by the Stalkers. And Stalkers have, 6 range, so does Hydralisk with upgrades, so you're equal. And you can keep firing at them, especially when you are on creep. You can keep firing on them, and they won't be giving you too much damage. You will be always trading damage. It all comes down to the trade. When you have roaches, the Protoss player has the opportunity to get to some very good trades, and he will just destroy your units right away. He may snipe a roach or 2, then blink back, regenerate shields. When you have Hydralisks, he can't do that at all. So pure Hydralisk, probably not a very good idea, but if you go Hydralisk plus Zerglings, that's awesome. The Zerglings will keep chipping off at the enemy's army, and the Hydralisks will also keep doing damage from range. And that's how you basically defend this. Now, the mistake that Tefel did here is he was counting too much for his micro in this game, and that just backfired, and that was the reason that he lost. So basically, now what we are going to do is, you're probably wondering, okay, so how do I execute this build specifically? Now, let me get back a bit. The couple of timings, the couple of milestones along the way that we want to check are the timings for the warp gate tech. And let's speed things up. We don't want to be watching this replay all over again. Doom, 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 doom. Okay, we have an expansion, all that goody goodness. Thank you, 2 gases, right away, coming right up. And at this point in time, this is where the Protoss makes the decision for the tech. 5:30, around 6-minute mark is where you should scout your opponent Protoss. with in regards to their gas timings, because if they will have around 6-minute mark 2 gases at the expansion, that means they are going either Blink Stalker or they are going for Immortal Sentry All-In, and you need to do some additional scouting. This is why you have 2 overloads. You need to have 1 overload here that will scout for both of the gases and perhaps sacrifice himself. Oh, what a cool scout. Yeah, I see everything I needed. Yeah, he even selects it, and Twilight Council it is. Thank you very much. Now run away. I don't want to sacrifice myself just to be destroyed and die in a big ball of guts falling to the ground. Now, what Kerr does is he doesn't mind that. He still wants to execute his build. Basically, the reaction, if you have been scouted while doing such a build, is just keep doing it. If you are caught with your bare hands, and if you know, oh my god, he knows what I'm going to do, then still you should go for it. If you want to change your mind somewhere in between the build, if now he would if now he would try to go Sentry, Immortal, Expand, he would need to take a Robo, which would be very late. Changing the tech path isn't very efficient, so it's better that you still go for the build that you were planning to, and then perhaps somewhere in the middle you assess, okay, that's probably not going to work. I will back away, I will defend with the huge bunch of units that I still have, and I will change tech later on, because I still can afford that. I have 4 gases. Now, back to the game itself. As you can see, there's our Roach Warren that has been created in a reaction against that, and the timings that I mentioned. So the timings were where your Twilight Council finishes, that's a very important timing, is boink, at 7.16. So Blink Research starts at 7.20 if I'm not mistaken. Come on. Yeah, so 7.20 is where Blink Research starts, and then you start building your gateways. With all gas heavy builds, you want to delay your gateway building as much as possible, because you want to get the tech started first, and then if your timing is right, you will manage to get the gateways in just a nick of time that is required to perform the attack still very effectively, because gateways take only 65 seconds to complete, while Blink, for example, takes 140. That's 2 times as long. Gateways are extra quick buildings that finish up super easy, and you don't have any issues with that. So we have Blink Research that will finish. Let's check. Let's check where that will finish, and also Warp Gate timing. So let's move it back a second. Where did the Warp Gate timing finish? It will probably be the same as the standard timing, but with less chrono boosts on the Warp Gate, because you don't need it that early as with 8 Gate. It will be kind of around 8:15 if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. So Warp Gate timings, that's 8:15, and that's the exact point in time where you start warping in your sentries that you need for the attack, and then you still have time before the Twilight Council finishes with the Blink Research. Let's take a look about the time that Blink Research finishes, and it's 9.30. Okay, so 9.30. Blink Research to 9.30. Okay, so 9.30, and that's the time where you already have Blink, and you're good to go. You can start warping in your Stalkers. You don't want to show the Blink too early, and after doing that, after you show the Blink, then your opponent may be thinking, okay, I want to prepare something extra. I want to put down more spine crawlers or something like that. Right now, just a general notice, Protoss versus Zerg is a matchup where Protoss has the active side, and Protoss has the upper hand in determining the pace of the game. So it isn't that when you're playing Protoss, you should be watching what your opponent is doing. You should be keeping your eye on what your opponent is doing, but on the other hand, you still should determine, okay, I'm going for a timing push, or I'm going to take an extra expansion and take the third, and then try to play from there a macro mode against the Zerg. So you are the one who forces the hand, and it's the Zerg who needs to react to what you're doing. So when you're thinking about scouting in Protoss versus Zerg, and you're going for two base builds, you just need to confirm that Zerg also goes for a standard play. If he wouldn't have taken the third expansion, he may have gone to base Muta, and that's probably not very effective, but still, you could expect that and try to defend it. That would force you into a defensive position. But if he goes free base standard build, then you're safe to assume that, okay, my timing attack is going to hit exactly at the time what I planned, and, you know, it's going to hit right before the Zerg chooses his tech. Because, you know, Zergs right now, and for those of you who don't play Zergs, let me explain. Right now, Zergs are a very passive race in many ways. They take free bases, which is obvious if you watch the streams, but then the reason why they do it is to have as much big economy to support later tech. So they want to transition to Broodlord's Infestor as soon as possible. And if you don't force out their hand before the transition happen, then you are screwed. If you do force out their hand and they don't manage to defend that, well, you win. If they manage to defend that, you still have done a very significant damage, not to their economy, but to their tech. Because they won't be able to create as many Corruptors, as many Broodlords, or as many Infestors as they normally would. And, you know, probably not too much of that will apply in Heart of the Swarm, that's coming in a month and a half, but still, you know, the thinking process is the same. You want to hit the Zerg before they choose their tech, because they already start piling up the gas. You want them to use up the gas that they have been keeping in their backyard. Okay, so that's it for part number 2. Part number 2 that dealt with +2 Stalker Blink upgrade attack in around the 10-minute mark. So thank you very much for watching. If you're watching this live, you will have a chance to ask questions on the chat. If you're watching this on YouTube, then all of the things that we've noted during the show are also in the comments, and I also invite you to join our shows live. So we will be with you back in a second. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Jägerlisk TV.